Hey, happy Friday. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to this Friday afternoon edition of Theater Camp Live, where we are being joined by my dear friend, Maroon 2 buddy, my bandmate, Derek Klena. It's iconic. It's ready. Theater Camp Live, we're here today. Oh, there's Derek himself. You and hello, we're connecting. So we're here today. We are supporting Covenant House down below, supporting vulnerable young people. Hello, Derek. Hey, boo boo.
Hello.
Oh my gosh, the lighting is so good there. But yes, we're supporting Covenant House, and we're supporting Switchboard LGBT Plus, which is a helpline in the UK. We're just raising money for vulnerable youth, but mostly this is a free conversation to help spread some joy and some hope, and to distract you guys from the coronavirus of it all. So hi, Derek. How are you today,
Hi,
sweetie?
buddy. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So where are you quarantining
I
right
think we're
now?
good
Where are
now,
you
hopefully.
currently?
There you are.
Oh, good. Okay, is great. Okay, let me know. I can go off Wi-Fi if it's being a problem. But where are you quarantining? Where are you hanging out?
I am in Northern California right now, but I'm heading back to New York tomorrow. So we'll be back in the Big Apple tomorrow. Yes.
I didn't even
But
know you'll be back in my time zone.
mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so
Yeah, we've been out on
exciting.
the West Coast now for like almost 2 months, and it's time just to go home, reassess, get ready for the summer, and then we'll see what happens. Hopefully, we'll be out of this quarantine mess sooner rather than later. But yeah, no, we're excited to be back in New York and get our things together for sure. Where are you right now? You're in
I'm
Massachusetts?
in Massachusetts. Welcome to my childhood
Ooh,
bedroom. I bet you never
no
thought you'd get to
way.
experience this majesty. Oh yeah, I'd show more of it, but it's not clean. Let's be honest, it's not clean. Um, oh
No,
my goodness.
that's
Well,
perfect.
how are you and Alicia doing? Are you having an okay time? Is it
We're good.
fun?
Yeah. My family's in Southern California. Her family's up here in Northern California. We're in Napa now. Not too shabby. It's been amazing having California weather. Her family's incredible. So it's been, although it's the times that we're going through are tough and hard for everyone. We're lucky to be spending it with family and have some beautiful weather and beautiful company. So it's been good.
Yeah.
How about you? You're with your family, right?
I'm with my family, which is, has been fun. Yeah, I was alone in New York for like 24 days, and that was not the most fun. And
Mm-mm.
I became completely nocturnal. So here I have a normal sleep schedule. I can be outdoors. I can work out,
Yes.
which, as you know, is not something I do in real life, but is something I do in
Yes.
quarantine.
Good. Good.
So who
I
knows?
know. You're like, oh, I have time and I have space. I'm gonna
I have
go
time.
for a
It's
walk or
basically
a
like
run.
I'm working out and making plunking tracks for people doing live broadcasts and editing music videos. That's me.
Nice. You know what?
But
That's
so,
pretty good.
Derek, if you're good with me, I think we're going to take a blast to the past and we're going to go back to the start of your career and we're going to talk through some of your life for the next 20 minutes
Okay.
on this episode of This Is Your Life. Um, all right. So, you grew up in West Covina, California, right? Or was it Covina
I
proper?
did West Covina,
West
the
Covina,
West
legendary.
West Side.
West Side, I love it. And you grew up loving Disney. Now, so Derek and I, we've done his concert together. So I feel like I've gotten to ask Derek all these questions. So I'm going to try to find some things that I don't know because I know too many of the answers.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but so the first show you saw was the same as the first show I saw, which was Beauty and the
Wicked. Oh, well, Wicked
Beast.
was my first Broadway show. Yes,
Oh,
Beauty and the
yes, but
Beast was my
was your first
very
show
first show. I was
at
two
the
years old.
Performing Arts. How old?
I was two, I think, two or three.
Lynn, that's wild. Lynn,
No,
did he cry, Lynn?
I know. Yeah, where's my mom? She's probably here somewhere.
Exactly. I'm like,
No, it was at the the Schubert in
oh,
LA.
oh, got it. Oh, so it was
Yeah,
like the OG
it was
thing,
like before the Schubert was no more. I saw
right?
it at the Schubert with yeah, with some of the original company members. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
incredible.
Oh my God,
It was
amazing.
like,
So, and I know from us doing our thing that you grew up loving Disney, and we sing Hunchback and Hercules. But if you had to
mhm.
choose a favorite Disney princess, now Anastasia doesn't count, but from that time in your life, if you had to choose a princess, who would you choose?
If I had to choose a princess, probably Jasmine.
All right. Why
Yeah.
Jasmine? I mean, we love
Just
Frozen.
strong-willed. I don't know. Aladdin was another favorite movie. I'm a little bit biased because Jasmine is one of Alicia's favorite as well, my wife. So
Yeah.
we're definitely Team Jasmine.
Oh, I love. Well, the girl who voiced Jasmine, speaking voice wise, whose name is not coming to me, but she looks like
Yeah.
Alicia actually, so that
Really?
tracks.
There
Yeah,
you
she's a
go.
beautiful blonde. Okay, but so Beauty and the Beast was your first show you saw in
It
general. Like it
was.
was the first Broadway show. What was the
Hmm.
first show you did? I don't know why I don't know this answer.
First show I did. Um,
Linda Larkin.
Gosh, it
Thank you
was
for
it
the
was
comments.
either it was either Tom of Warwick in um Camelot, or I was a flying monkey in The Wiz when I was 6. Yeah, yeah.
Was that one of those legendary mostly white productions of The Wiz, or was it integrated?
Oh, it was definitely mostly white, but it was a children's theater. But yeah, shout out Met Two. Um, Yeah, but we had like full on flying and everything. And if you got to be a featured monkey, they partnered you up 2 by 2, and we would just fly across the stage up and down, and we just had to be our monkey self. So that was like one of my first on stage experiences, and I was lucky enough to be chosen to be one of the flying two.
See, you've always been an Osmopolitan
There you
legend. That
go.
totally
There
makes
you
sense.
go.
And we'll
I
get
know.
to that probably
On
to you
brand.
later. I love, and is that, do you feel like you caught the bug then, or was it just kind of something that you were doing just because it was a thing
Um,
to do?
Yeah, my my mom especially has always been like a fan of the arts. I have cousins on my dad's side that are also singers and musicians, so it was I grew up with it, and my mom obviously started taking us to theater at such a young age. We had a family friend of ours who was started like this children's like theater class where we would do numbers and things like that, and then she also started teaching private voice lessons. So we got involved. My younger sister and I got involved in that when we were. I was 5, she was 3, and from that, my mom noticed that we had a really good ear for learning music, and it was something that we really enjoyed doing. And then eventually, we got into singing lessons and children's theater, and that love just kind of grew. We stayed with it. Started auditioning for local theater and dinner theater and regional productions in the area, and yeah, we were hooked. Luckily, my parents were super supportive. I was able to play because I was like very much the High School Musical upbringing, where my dad was coaching my sports teams, and I was running to and from. Yeah, Ben knows the story of like literally
Exactly.
I was playing Kurt in like a dinner theater Sound of Music, and I had to leave the baseball game that I was pitching in to go make curtain for Sound of Music. And luckily my dad was the coach, so he was like, "All right, Derek, you're out. Go in the car. Mom's waiting." So I literally jumped in the car and went like straight to my show. So that was happening a lot, but luckily I had very supportive parents who allowed me to do both. And yeah, my love for theater just kept growing and growing as I got older.
See, and now you do push-ups while belting on Broadway, so it's
There
like
you
the
go.
ultimate combination.
It's all about putting that tension in the right places. Thanks,
we
Joan
love
Later.
we love all of the Joan Later lessons. Shout out to Joan
Exactly.
Later. Doesn't have
Exactly.
social media, but we shout her out anyway.
We love her.
Um, but also in your childhood, so you guys had quite the reality TV filled past. So now you guys,
We
I know, had
did.
been on Family Feud. Your sister was on American Juniors. You yourself were on American Idol. What else am I missing? What other reality?
America's Most Talented Kids.
America's Most Talented Kids. That's the legendary
Yeah.
one we watched.
The legendary one where I sang Lady by Styx, very age appropriate number, belting all the high things before my voice changed. It was fantastic. Yeah.
Listen, I will tell you, we sang it a couple times in the normal key. You still have it. You still sing pretty much as high. You just don't need to
It's one
work
of
that
my karaoke go-tos still, so
hard.
it's still there.
Right, a couple whiskeys in, it still
Yeah,
comes
just a
out.
couple drinks in, it loosens it up. We're good.
um, what was, I guess, what was the first one though? What was the first kind of foray into reality television?
Gosh, what was it? Um, yeah, it must have been it was Lauren's. It was Lauren's American Juniors. She did that when she was 9 and I was 11. Um,
Which, like, for
yeah,
those who don't know, American Juniors was
I,
like American Idol, but
yeah.
kids. They tried
They
it for a
tried
little
it
while,
for
didn't
like
keep it.
1 year. Tried it for 1 year. My sister made it to the top 20. She got to perform on TV, and we all, yeah, got to be there as a support system. No, she was a champ. And then 2 years later, I auditioned for America's Most Talented Kids and made one of the shows and got to sing on the show, and I sang Lady for that. And then I auditioned for American Idol when I was 18, and made it to Hollywood Week. So we've definitely made the runaround of singing
I know you were
competition
like the
shows.
cheapest Hollywood Week person known to man. You just had to drive a couple hours. That was like other people. It's like, oh my god,
No, and
Hollywood.
like literally 25 minutes. I was going to UCLA at the time, and I was like,
Oh,
oh, okay, yeah, I'm gonna be down the street. But I was playing baseball, and I had to ask my coach if I could leave for the weekend to literally go and participate in Hollywood Week. That was the most awkward conversation I've ever had.
I love
But
it. But you know, at least
he didn't know what to say. He was like, yeah, I guess.
at least it was
Thanks,
American
Coach
Idol, so it
Savage.
was like you weren't like, I need to go like see Wicked this weekend. You were like, you know, you had to
Right.
go do. At least everyone knew what
Yeah,
American
I
Idol
was like, I
was.
made the top 100. I was like, I really want to go do this. Can I? It's just like 2 or 3 days. Although, like, it could have been more. But yeah, he let me go, and that was a fun experience.
Oh my gosh, I love. And
Yeah.
since the diehard fans are here, normally I'd make you go into the whole story about you, you know, doing the cabaret, singing goodbye, getting the
Yeah.
attention of Mark Shaman, auditioning for Catch Me If You Can, ga 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 ga. But that leads us to your career in New York. So a
Yes.
lot of really magical things happen. We talk about it on other videos, I'm sure.
Hmm.
But you ended up in New York doing Carrie the musical. How old were you?
I was 20. I had just turned 20. It was December of 2011 when I flew to New York and actually went there to do the production. I was actually involved in the last workshop that we did
Oh,
during the summer. It was actually May. I took 2 weeks off from school, my spring quarter of my sophomore year at UCLA, to go out to New York, do the 2 week lab, and then fly back for finals. You can imagine my finals weren't great.
see,
I
here we go.
was like,
Now we're in stories I don't know. I'm like, go on.
yeah, so this was actually, I actually booked the lab, the last lab we did, went up for 2 weeks, flew back for finals, and then got the offer for the off Broadway production about a month later in June. Um, and that's when I had to make the decision. I would be able to do my fall quarter at school, and then after my fall quarter, that's when I would move to New York to take a quarter off to pursue
Yeah.
Carrie for 4 months. Um, so yeah, that was in December of 2011. I had just turned 20 in October.
Oh my gosh, but wait, I'm gonna shout out. We got a donation
Hmm.
here from Let Me Be Frank. Thank you for that. And we
Yes,
also
thank
see
you
your donations
guys.
on the Just Giving page. So
Yes.
club11.london/donate if you don't want to X out of your Instagram to press that button, but we appreciate it. You're
Mhm.
helping vulnerable young people everywhere, so thank you. And so you played Tommy Ross. Wait a second. So that workshop, were you kind of aware that the full thing was basically a multiple week long audition?
No, I mean I did, but they had kind of put me through the ringer in terms of my audition process. I sent in a tape from LA initially, and then I flew out to New York for what I thought was going to be a one or two auditions. I thought I was going to go in for one day, and then it ended up turning into like a week long thing where I went in once, and then I had a couple work sessions, and then I went in again. Actually, I might have went in 3 times because they were it was really specific about what they wanted for Tommy's like Dreamer in Disguise song. And Mary Mitchell Campbell, I remember I had a session with Mary Mitchell, love her. She sat me down and she was like, "Okay, we have to sing this exactly like this." And so we literally went like note for note because they were very specific of how they wanted it. So I got to be in New York for the week. Went in a few times. That process was very like intense. So I was like, okay, if I made it through that,
Yeah.
then I felt like I could do my work in the room, and it was all going to work out. But it was definitely, I'm glad that I was kind of naive to the the importance of that experience, and the magnitude of kind of what I was getting myself into, and the people that were in that room at the time, because it was
Mhm.
kind of a hyped up like thing that they were bringing Carrie back. And
Right.
I was in this room with Molly Ranson, who was incredible, who played Carrie, and Marin Mazzie, of course, the beautiful, lovely Marin Mazzie. So I was blown away, and I was just thrilled to get a call a month later that I had done a good enough job that they wanted to keep
Yeah.
me on. Yeah.
Wait, I just want to
So,
say for those of my folks from outside of the US, you can go to club11.london/donate and you can donate there from any country you're at. So sorry about that fundraising button. That's for America. Um, But gosh, was it surreal for a while, like once you were in the workshop and then doing it? Or were you like, I'm 19, I've got this, this makes sense that this is happening? Or were you kind of like,
No,
what?
it was definitely a big deal. It was definitely a big deal because this was after, for those of you who know, like my first audition process for Catch Me If You Can, I was auditioning for Aaron Tveit Standby. And I had also been put through the ringer for
Yeah.
that audition process. So I definitely knew that it was a big deal. I knew that I needed to put up and really focus and like, um, I am a hard worker.
Yeah.
So no
The
matter
hardest
what I, no
worker.
matter, no matter what I do, I do like, I'm pretty OCD perfectionist. So I do like to do it well. So I prepared myself well. And I love the process of working with people. It was such a young company, which was kind of awesome as my first experience in New York is having a cast where the majority of them were around the same age as me. I was still on the younger side, but it was a bunch of young adults, still kind of new-ish to the business. So it was nice to have that like group of people to bond with, and I'm still really good friends with a lot of them today, which is cool.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
let me give a little shout out. We have two more donations. This is Roses Ramanda and Hey There, Ivana. I want to say, forgive me if I said your name wrong. Thank you. You
Yes.
guys rock.
Thank you guys.
Um, so what do you remember your first impressions of Christy being during that
I love
process?
Christy. Please, I mean, Christy is like one of the kindest, sweetest, caring souls.
Right, but what do you
Um,
remember about meeting her at like 19, when you were a baby?
Well, so I was actually like, this girl's a big deal and she's amazing because Christy is incredible. And
Yeah.
I had seen her in the first national tour of Spring
Spring
Awakening
Awakening.
at the Amundsen. So I made that connection and I was like, oh crap, like
That
that's the
girl.
girl. That's the girl who's Venla. Um, so I was like a little bit like, I guess starstruck-ish. Like I knew that she like was was really nailing it, and I had seen her do Spring Awakening, which is one of my favorite shows, and I was kind of blown away. So I was like, "That's awesome!" That like I get to like do my scenes and play her love interest in this, and yeah. So I loved Christy. She was very very sweet to me. We like got food during lunch breaks and dinner breaks and things together to kind of like get to know each other because we were on stage a lot together. She's the best. I love her
We
dearly,
love.
and obviously we have a long history together. So that was a really cool way to kick that relationship and friendship off.
Yeah, oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Now, hopping forward, the next thing, you hopped into Dogfight, and recently, oh gosh,
Hmm.
last year, you got to reapproach that material to do the
Yeah.
concerts at Second Stage. What was it like for you stepping back into Eddie Birdlace's shoes for a night?
Yeah. I like when I was doing Carrie, I didn't really intend on staying in New York. I was going to take that opportunity, embrace that opportunity of doing the show in New York, and then Dogfight happened. I got the audition for Dogfight towards the end of the Carrie run. Ended up booking that, which was life changing, and that kind of solidified me staying in New York for a longer period of time and pursuing this. Um, but I was 20 years old. I didn't know what I didn't know at the time, and I was thrown into a room with probably, I mean, obviously crazy, crazy, brilliant people in Benj Pasek and Justin Paul. They've gone on to do crazy
I know.
things since then. Peter Duchan, who adapted the book, who's also brilliant.
Brian
And
Perry, shout out.
Brian Perry, who I'm working on Jagged right now. We've done so many shows together. He's amazing. You got Chris Catelli did the choreo, and he had just won the Tony Award for Newsies. And then
Right.
you have, Maestro himself, Joe Mantello, directing this, and I had just seen him in Normal Heart on Broadway, which I mean, should have won the Tony for. He was
Correct.
incredible, and so it was just like this embarrassment of riches in this room. I'm lucky that I was still naive enough. I don't know. I understood that these were like incredible people, but I was still bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and like ready to do whatever, whenever for anybody.
Yeah.
Um, but Joe had a way of really like breaking us down and building us up. Lindsay and I, especially, because we had so much alone time and scene work with just us and Joe working on the show, that it was probably the most influential and experience which I grew the most doing because it really taught me how to be an actor. It was a big role, bigger than a role that I played. It was a chance to originate this role. It was because Carrie had been done before, so technically it
Right.
was a revival. This was like an original piece, and although it was adapted from the film, we were doing a lot of different things on stage. So that was a huge responsibility, and that's where I really learned how to be an actor. I learned how to approach scene work. I learned how to lead a show or co-lead a show
Yeah.
and really carry that. Lindsay was an amazing partner in crime on stage and off stage. We developed such a strong relationship early on and friendship, and she's just now the Tony winning Lindsay Mendez.
We love.
Um, we love. And so having her by my side through that experience and having Joe really pushing us, and then there was like there was a day during previews, there was one specific line that I just couldn't get right for the longest time. And we kept working it every day of previews. And I would go up to Joe and I was like, "Was that it? Was that it?" And he was like, "It's not quite it, but it's getting better." And I'm like, "Okay," because he was like, "I'm not going to give it to you. You're going to find it." He's like, "You're going to find it, and then I'll tell you when it's right." So it took like weeks of this very specific part of the show where it was kind of a turning point for my character, and it was I had it the line had to be delivered a very specific way. And I remember the day during previews when I got it right. And I went up to Joe and I was like, "How was that? How was that today? I tried something different." And he was like, "That was it." And I don't think I've ever been so relieved and felt that much accomplishment in such like a small detail to a scene, but it meant the world to me that like I'd finally done it. He had broken us down. He had helped us build our way back up. And after that, I had the confidence to kind of take on any scene. And I knew that I had worked really hard and I had gotten there, finally gotten
Yeah.
there. So to this day, I still will never forget that day where I was so relieved. I was like, okay, I finally like figured it out. It's like these shows are like puzzles, and when you're missing that one last piece and you're trying to find it, and you think you've lost it, and all of a sudden you're like, there it is, and you put it in. It's like the best feeling. So I will
Wait,
forever be indebted to that experience.
I'm obsessed with that. Wait, I have questions, but I just want to shout
Yeah.
out to Kat Behrens, Frenene and Victoria PR1, and Pepin Labasu.
Oh
These
wow,
donations are
thank you
crazy. You guys are
guys.
slaying down there. Um,
Yeah.
Derek, I have to tell you, the people want to know what the part was, and I want to know what was the line.
It was there's a small scene. I forget the exact line that it was, but there's the scene in which Boland, played by Josh Shigera, who's also like blowing up and one of the best actors I've ever worked with. He's a stud. And him and Annalie Ashford all also like royalty.
Yeah.
Um, they're going into the dance and he's like, "Come on, Birdlace, like we're gonna be late or whatever." And like, Marcy's in on the plan, and there's a point where Eddie has regrets about what he's about to do, and he's like, "Rose, like I don't think we should go in there. Like, basically, like you don't know what you're getting yourself into." And she's like, "No, I want to go. I want to go. Like, come on, Eddie. Like, like you said, like, just for a night, no holding tight, let go." And then
Yeah.
there's a second where I'm like, "All right, simplify, do or die." It was like one line in that bit where Eddie has to flip the switch and be like, "Okay, I'm doing this," but also show that like regret and tentativeness about really going through with this plan, that it was a complicated, like short
Right.
scene, but it was really important the way that I interpreted it and the way that she was reacting to my tentativeness in the moment, because it would eventually set up the climactic point of Act One and therefore set up the rest of the show. So it was kind of a very pivotal moment where we'd only seen Eddie being, like, frankly, a dick in the previous scene, and then we see some of his redeeming qualities start to seep in there. So that was a really tricky moment that I had a hard time understanding what Joe was wanting from
Yeah.
that. And then
Oh,
when I
that's such a
finally got
complicated.
it, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I totally get it now." And now it kind of changed my perspective of how I went into the next scene and
Yeah.
how I would slowly redeem myself for the rest of the show. So I got why he was so adamant about this being very specific and right. And you know, that's one thing about Joe. He's always right.
Right.
So in my mind, I'm like, Derek, okay, Joe's right. So you just have to figure it out.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and yeah, that was the part. But yeah, I'll never forget it.
Bless, thank you, Mia, for the donation. And that makes
Hmm.
sense because, right, we want to keep the audience, even though you're doing an awful thing as Eddie, they want to keep, you want to keep that they see in that you have a conscience and that, they want to stay
Right.
connected to you and not write you off.
Right. And
Um,
then later, all of a sudden, when he does feel something for Rose, you don't want that to come out of nowhere either,
right.
because you have to show earlier on that he does have a heart in all this, and
Ooh,
he's
tricky
not just this
script.
guy. So you stay
Yeah.
with him. But yeah, it was a tricky scene, but we got it.
Oh my gosh. So, Derek,
Yeah.
I know you have to teach in a little bit. Are you okay to stay until like 3:30? Is that okay? Or 12:30?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
Yeah,
great. Perfect.
yeah.
You're being so generous with your time. Thank you.
No, of
Um,
course.
so, of course, that
I
led to
love
joining.
talking to you, Ben. I'm glad to
Oh,
see
I
your
love
face.
talking to you. I just know Jarek's keeping busy teaching, by the way. We both teach for Broadway Workshop. Shameless plug. Going out there. Um, okay, so you got to be in the 10th anniversary company of
Hmm.
Wicked as Firo Tigelaar. We stand. Now, unconventional question. Kyle Denis told me that like it's about 20 minutes of actual stage time, and then the rest is just you backstage living your life. So I want to
Yeah.
know what did you do backstage when you were playing Firo? What were your activities?
Um. Well, Lindsay was on stage most of Act One. Act One, Act One, they didn't get a whole lot of downtime.
Yeah.
There is a break at the end of when Elphaba and Glinda go off to the Emerald City, and I say goodbye to them at the train station. Then Fiero pieces out to the beginning of Act Two. So there's
Got
like a good 35, 40 minute chunk there, uh, whoop, whoop, where I get to like relax and chill. I was in the show with F. Michael Haney, who I did Carrie with and
right.
Dogfight with prior to this. We did three in a row. I don't think people realize that F and I did three shows together in a row, um, which was awesome. So I would go upstairs to hang out with him and John Schiappa, who was playing Dr. Dillerman at the time. So
Schiappa.
yeah, and Catherine Charlotte Boyce, who played oh
Nessa.
my gosh, Nessa. So we would like hang out up there. They had a TV. We would put sports on. We'd just chat and hang out. So that became like kind of like my intermission hang. And then I would go backstage, or I'd go downstairs for intermission, actual intermission, to like catch up with Lindsay and
Got
Katie
it.
Rose Clark, who we did it with, and Ali Mazi, who was also Glinda during the run. So yeah, I was jumping around, seeing people, checking in. I also had a little TV in my room that I don't know which Fiero got that. I think it
But
was either like Richard Blake or Kevin Kern or somebody, but
you think it was in a
they
place?
hooked
I'm
it
like,
up.
I think it was probably Kyle Dean because Kyle Dean is so like he was just there so much that he was like, I
Yeah,
don't need to worry about
he's
this
like, we
forever.
got to have a TV in here.
Safety for
So,
myself.
Wicked, they have it hooked up at Wicked. It was pretty fun. Yeah, but I had like a good 40-minute break in the middle of the show, and I kind of jumped around, but mostly went upstairs to visit friends upstairs.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And then, an often forgotten moment in the Derek chapter, we don't talk about this in the concert, was doing Diner, the Sheryl Crow musical.
Yes, I did
Which,
two rounds of Diner.
oh, right, you did it in both productions. Was that one's
Yeah,
Delaware? Where was the other one?
Delaware and the Signature Theater in DC.
DC, I love. Lots of great, great, great music in that, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Killer tunes. Of course,
Yeah.
now it's like a diner musical from a pop star. It's like never again. But
Yeah.
the
You know
position
what?
has been
Cheryl
fulfilled.
Crow wrote the music, and it was really really catchy music. The show was actually great, and the cast was incredible. So it was a fun process to be a part of, and I think it's still kicking around somewhere. But theater's hard. Putting a show together is hard, especially adapting from
Yeah.
a movie. So maybe someday it'll happen.
Right. But did you
We'll
have
see.
any surreal Sheryl Crow moments? Any like, oh, I am working with Sheryl Crow right now. Were there any like wild, weird, any particular memories you have?
Um, She was always just super supportive and the sweetest and really smart in the room. So when she showed up, we were kind of all just wanting to like do right by her music and make sure that we were really nailing it. So she was proud of us and like and like gave us her blessing. But she was super cool and chill and honestly like de-glorified the rock star that she is. She was just in the best way, just kind of wanted she just wanted to work and like hang out
Yeah.
with us and then get it right, which was awesome. It was also a gift. Like the hard part with Jagged Little Pill is we're actually singing her songs that she had recorded on her album. This is original music that, although she had been a part of putting together the demos for, we weren't necessarily remaking her
Her sound,
masterpieces.
yeah.
These were songs that we were able to originate and kind of make our own. So that allowed us some freedom to feel a little bit more ownership of the role and the songs. So that I think helped um, just like the over eagerness to do right by
To
her.
be
I
do
think
like
I
do
think it
Cheryl, yeah.
allowed us to really focus on the show and not so much on this is Sheryl Crow's music. And she was fully supportive of us taking it and doing our own thing with it, and making it our own. So that experience and working with her is incredible. She's so sweet. She's a rock star, badass,
I love. Wait,
awesome. Yeah.
major shout out. Alan K. Choi just donated $100 to Covenant House. That's
Wow. Thank you
huge.
so much,
Thank you.
Alan.
Thank you for
That's
supporting
awesome.
Covenant House and for supporting Theatre Camp Live. I only say it British because it's with my British team.
Theater Camp
Wait,
Live.
I love. Wait. What did I want to
And
hop
let's
to?
be honest, it's such a better accent.
Oh, it is such a better accent. I
It's
know.
we have the worst accent. I wish we
I
were
know, but
like
I will say, but Derek,
Australian
when you go over there,
or
because
English.
someday we will, the British people like our accent. I have no idea why. It's
Really?
amazing. But in
Oh.
America, I am the most shrill, obnoxious person. In London, I'm cute. So there you go.
No, you're
Uh,
cute here, Ben.
and of course, I'm going to try to go a little faster and wrap my life up. But of course,
There you go.
Anastasia, the big dream, King Dimitri, that came next. Um, Now, I have a question about My Petersburg.
Okay.
Legend has it that My Petersburg is so high, and the last note is so high because you and rehearsals were in Cambridge, not Cambridge, right? What am I saying? Connecticut.
Yeah,
Wanted to
yeah.
make sure that it was high enough that other people would have a hard time singing it, and you could keep your job. Is that true?
False. 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 Okay, so there was a different I think no, yeah, yeah. So there was a different version of My Petersburg in um in Connecticut, in Hartford, and they thought that the end of the song just kind of ended like on a less climactic note, and the audience was always tentative about whether they it was like an applause moment or whether they thought we were just going to bleed into the
Into
next
the
scene
story.
because it just didn't have as much of a resolve. So they wanted to give Dimitri that moment since it's his like kind of I want song in the show. They wanted to give him that moment and make it more of a button, and so therefore they just threw an A or an A flat or whatever that
It's an
is.
A.
Yeah, an A on a erg vowel um, to make that happen. Which I was so grateful that they thought I could do it and pull it off. But although when I was first singing it, I was like, oh no.
Oh
Oh no.
no.
And I'm
Oh
just
no.
running around the stage during the whole number. I mean, that's like the song is hard enough to sing as it is, but then like the blocking and what we were doing on stage, running from like spot to spot, and then wearing like 25 pounds of wool and like a satchel and all of these things, it turned into a whirlwind, a marathon of a number, but rewarding. I love Aarons and Flaherty so much. I was so grateful and honored that they thought I could do it and pull it off. And yeah, it's a beautiful song. I was grateful to originate that. That's
Oh
cool.
my God, I love the youth. That was Darren down there, who is my concert producer who does Club Live in London, who was producing Broadway Princess Party, which was supposed to be in London tonight. But
Oh
instead,
no.
we're having a Prince Party reunion here. This is what's happening. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
gonna try to wrap myself up because I got to get you some time before you teach. But
Okay.
Jagged Little Pill playing Nick Healy, which first of all, I mean, you've done a lot of stunning things in your career, and I've seen every single one. I'm very proud, at least New York wise.
Yeah.
But this is, I think, the most detailed, beautiful work you've done. And it's so genuine and gut wrenching. And each beat is thought out. And you sing the song so beautifully. And I'm very proud watching you in it. But what I want to know is, what do you love most about telling that story every day?
Um,
Oh, slash, hi, Alicia. I see you.
Oh,
Oh,
squeeze.
Alicia
The
says
squeeze is
low-key.
in.
I hope you mean me, Alicia.
She's like literally in the next room. Um, it's it's it is the most it's the hardest role that I've had to do actual like contextually and emotionally. Dimitri was probably the most physical, and then Dogfight was kind of a combination of the two. But this one is it's less physical and more just like heavy material, heavy character.
Yeah.
The subject matter that we're dealing with is so sensitive that we only want to honor that and honor the people that have gone through some of the experiences we deal with. So, and my character is kind of in the middle of one of the major conflicts, dealing with a friend of mine has experienced a rape, a sexual assault, and I am a witness of that. So there's a responsibility to the story and that theme, but also to illustrate the responsibility of my character to there's Andrew on our show who is the aggressor, and then there is Catherine Gallagher
Hmm.
plays Bella,
Bella.
who is the victim, and then there's my character who is the the bystander. And there are more Nicks than there are Andrew in the world. And we don't often talk about the responsibility of the bystander and of the witnesses in all of this. So I felt a huge responsibility to tell that story and to show the importance of that. So that weighing on my character, and also, Nick comes and goes throughout the show. So the accuracy in which I had to tell it was really tricky, given small scenes that were kind of like spread out. So it's been a marathon, but everybody in the show is dealing with such difficult material
Yeah.
to show every night. So we're all in this together. We all support each other. We all check in with one another to make sure we're all emotionally connected and emotionally trusting one another. So having that collaborative group and having that support system is really important for this show. I've learned a lot about myself doing it. It's also hard because Derek, share a lot of similarities with Nick.
Sure.
Unlike, and I'm sure a lot of people connect to that fact of having to be perfect and having to execute all the time, especially with how competitive getting into colleges these
Yeah.
days and auditioning. I mean, there's just more and more talented people in the world all doing their things, and we're just trying to one up each other. So everyone can relate to that drive and then that yearning to be excellent. So um, it's a huge responsibility, but also a huge privilege to get to tell this story. And it's hard because you want to maintain that level of excellence all the time. If I take off any performance or any scene, I feel like I'm not doing my job and I'm not doing justice to the people that this really touches. So that's the responsibility, and that's what keeps us, really,
Yeah.
really working hard and executing every night. Um, but it's a
I
really
love.
rewarding show, and I'm really excited to be able to share it with more people after this. We're really
After
excited
the
to get back on that
wildness.
stage. Yeah.
Oh gosh, I know. Well, I
Yeah.
should be letting you go soon, but I'll ask you two more quick questions.
Yeah, no, you're good.
So Derek and I were lucky enough. I get to travel around doing concerts with Derek. I get to be Derek's music director. I'm the lucky guy. Ha 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 ha.
He's the
But
best.
you are the best. But do you have a favorite memory? Um, was there a favorite concert we did? Was there a favorite city? Was there a moment on tour? Or like, I don't know. Do you have a favorite? I'll try to think of mine. Do you have anyone?
Yeah, I mean, I think the day that it was our last show in LA. It was the hometown show.
Yeah.
I was freaking out because I don't know, there's something that's super overexposed about doing your own show, and a lot of people don't realize that, although I love to sing, it's what I do. It's doing a solo show where you kind of allow people to go inside yourself and tell very like personal stories and expose that to your audiences. It can be nerve-wracking, and I get nervous with a lot of performances, but this one was especially nervous because I had like family friends. I hadn't performed in LA in years, so this was like a big event. I knew a lot of people were coming. You, Ben, I owe you so much for like
Oh,
talking me off the ledge so many times, because I remember that whole day was such like a feat. I don't know if it was all, yeah, it was the same day. We did brunch in the morning.
And
We
we
did
went to the
brunch in the
beach.
morning, went to the beach, walked to the water because it's like my happy place. And then we went back and kind of regrouped and did a sound check. And then you and I went and got a
We
massage
got massages.
because we were like, we have like, we literally have like an hour and 15 minutes. This is going to take an hour. We can get ready in 15 minutes. It's fine. We'll go.
We did it.
So we did a massage, we were ready to go, and then we had a couple hours before the show, and that was just like kind of a perfect day. And I owe you a lot for supporting me through that. And then
Oh.
once we got through that big one, it was we had conquered kind of like a mini tour of like
Yeah.
Southern California, and yeah, it was really
No, I remember
memorable
that
that
was a
day.
great day, and the sound was great
Yeah.
that day. And what's great
Mhm.
about working with Derek is he is like me in that we both aim to be better every single day. So every time that we did a show and did the next show, we were always fixing it and making it better.
Yeah.
And that was the last one we did. So we did the goal, which is that we kept going, and the best one was the last one. I want to
Yeah.
thank your mom for the donation down there. Actually, I have to ask you two quick
Oh,
questions.
thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Lynn. Do you remember, is there a particular moment in your career when you realized that the gays in the queer community decided they loved you and that they were supporting you? Or was that gradual, or did you notice at a certain point? Because we love
Um,
you. You're an icon.
I don't know, maybe the Fiero experience because of the pants.
The
I mean,
pants! The pants! The white pants!
everybody gets a grade on how well they wear the Fiero pants, and I'm glad that I passed the test.
I just spit. I'm disgusting. Nailed it. I love that. That makes sense. Okay, my
But I
final
think
question for
Fiero
you.
is like a closet like gay icon,
Absolutely, absolutely. Once
and
they made the
yeah,
pants tight, it's like it was cemented.
honored, honored.
We love. Okay, the final question. So when we finally all go back to work, when the theaters reopen and the arts return, what is the
Mhm.
thing that you personally are looking forward to most?
Mutually sharing that experience with hopefully like a fearless audience because part of the joy and like why I love to do it so much is is sharing that with not only the people on stage but the people in the audience. I remember when I saw Next to Normal was an experience seeing that on Broadway and being such a fan of the show and listening to the recording religiously, wanting to play Gabe in that show. Like
Yeah.
there were so many parts about that show that I felt connected to that when I saw that show on Broadway for the first time, although it had been running for 6 to 9 months already, it was my first time seeing it. I had only been to New York a couple times. I was just in tears at the end of the show, and I remember that experience, and I try to remember that every time I'm on stage. Is I've been lucky enough to be a part of of different soundtracks or albums of
Hmm.
original Broadway shows and original Broadway cast albums. And I just have to remember that now that the Jagged Little Pill album's out in the world and people, especially during this time, some people lean on that to lift them up every day, that it's only going to be that much more important to share that with an audience and realize that people have waited months for this release,
Yeah.
for this healing process. We're all going to be healing together. And I think that first show back where feel we all can feel safe and content in a Broadway house again. Our show already has so much energy in it, and it's a feel good. And I'm just really excited to experience that not only with our cast members who we all miss each other so much, but with an
Yeah.
audience who hasn't been able to experience something that like that in a long time. And I think everybody will need that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, shout
Yeah.
out to Sarah EHR for the donation. Guys, this is, I
Thank
think,
you.
a record for the amount of donations in a day. So thank you so much. If you're watching
Thank you
this
guys.
on my page later, you can go to club11.london/donate if you want to keep supporting the charities. Derek, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for the extra time. I hope your
Thank
teaching goes
you.
really well in 15 minutes. Those students are
Thanks,
so
man.
lucky.
Thank
I'm
you. And
so
thank you for
lucky to
doing
call you
this.
a
It's
friend.
awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for spreading some joy. Thank you for opening your heart. You are the very best. And oh, I can't wait to see you when you're back on this coast. We'll have some good socially
Yeah.
distant hangout. We'll have
Sounds
to.
good. Sounds good.
All
Love
right.
you,
I love you
dude.
to bits.
I'll see you
Stay
soon.
safe and travel safe. And I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. Thanks.
Thank you,
Bye, guys.
everyone. Bye.